Ladies and gentlemen, I'm your host, Double Tap, and this is Aussie Game Rants. This week, we delve into the world of VR, or virtual reality. As always, I am joined by my partners in crime, Shoxy23, say hey.
Hey, how's it going?
And Jimmy D.
Hey, I got a question for you. What's the most annoying sound in the world?
I'm not sure. What the fuck? This week, we're joined by a very, very special guest. Frubix, say hello.
Good morning.
Good morning indeed.
Definitely.
Midnight. This is fantastic.
Don't tell them that.
What? They were all listening at midnight.
We need to. They need to think that we have a proper
It's
sleeping
morning,
schedule.
yes.
I mean 9 a.m. First of the business day. Now, we played with some VR today, didn't we, guys? What did we play with? Two major pieces we brought in. One was the Google Cardboard, and the other was, very exciting, an Oculus DK1. So, Frubix, why don't you tell us a little bit about the Oculus DK1?
It's a VR machine. Put it on your head, you look around, you're in a new world. It's a transportation device. This is the Dev Kit 1. This is the first thing they brought out after their very successful Kickstarter campaign.
That's right, it was a Kickstarter campaign.
It was a Kickstarter campaign.
And they were recently brought out by Facebook.
They were, about a year ago for
A whopping sum, wasn't it?
a huge amount.
So basically, it's a screen that's wholly contained, and it has lenses. For anyone who hasn't had a look at these things, slides on top of your head and you look through it. Now it creates a virtual reality in which you look. It's got motion controls, and it's also got gyroscopes, which most phones have these days.
It's basically a phone case. The latest models use Samsung screens itself, so it is pretty much just a phone case.
And so this is Dev Kit 1 that we were playing around with, and there's numerous other models, I understand.
There is the Dev Kit 2, which has just a couple of days ago stopped production.
Okay.
The CV1, known as the Consumer Version 1, that comes out Q1 2016.
Very nice. So next year, ladies and
Next
gentlemen,
year.
look forward to that
We
release.
also have the PlayStation VR and the HTC Vive.
Beautiful. And now, we all got a chance to play with this device tonight. What were some of the games we played?
Dumpy the Elephant was the most notable one, I'm sure.
Dumpy the Elephant was quite fun, so for anyone out there who hasn't played it, it is a virtual reality game where you play as an elephant and you control its head.
One of the other one was Retro Invaders, so basically Space Invaders in a VR world, which had a surprising ending to it when you actually lost.
Won't spoil that for anyone, it was fantastic actually, wasn't it?
Windlands, which took a bit of getting used to, it had a bit of a jumpiness to it, a bit buggy, and there was another one, a horror game, Dreadhalls.
Dreadhalls! I hate that game.
Interesting game, that one.
What was everyone's opinion? We'll go around. What was everyone's opinion on the Oculus itself? How were the screens? How did it feel? Is it definitely worth your time and money as a consumer? Jimmy D.
Judging by this is Dev Kit 1, so they've obviously improved it
Markedly.
markedly throughout it. It's still pretty valid, apart from the whole screen door kind of look, being a 720p and not a 1080p.
Explain to the ladies and gentlemen out there what a screen door effect is.
Okay, so basically if you look outside a screen door, you can see the lines and it's a little bit blurry compared to, say, you were looking at someone without the door between you.
And that's
Same
of course
kind of
affected
look.
by the screen.
Yes, and that's just basically the amount of pixels that are on the screen.
Of course.
This one only had 720p. The new ones have 1080p, 1080i, one of the two.
Yeah.
1080p or higher.
Or
Yeah.
higher. And I think PlayStation VR is looking at the same specs, 1080.
Yeah, different screens, different pixel densities, pixel shapes.
I think the most recent Oculus turned into an OLED, didn't it? Am I mistaken?
I think it was an OLED.
I'm pretty sure it's an OLED.
And I know it uses a hexagonal pixel shape.
Whereas this one's your regular CRT kind of square pixel.
Just a generic LCD screen.
And you can definitely see it when you look through.
But considering that is the original one and how responsive it actually is to your head movements and stuff like that, it's amazing.
Oh yeah, it was really responsive.
Especially when you couple that with a proper surround sound headset and then you go play a game such as Dreadhalls, which is a horror game, and they've actually gone into the immersive environment of putting those cues of sound and stuff in it. It does get you really immersed into the game. There were a few times where I shit myself playing that game. Ah! Ah! Fuck off! So,
Almost
that's
literally.
just to tell you how real it actually feels, and they make it sound very close to scale.
Yeah.
It's very to scale as to what it is. It's surprising how immersive it can become by just having those close to your head.
Now, Frubix, you've had this the longest because it is yours.
Yes.
What are your feelings on the Oculus? Obviously, you haven't upgraded to a DK2 or a consumer version or anything like that, but how has your experience been with it?
Yeah, pretty perfect. When it first came out on Kickstarter, I was like, yes, this is something I'm definitely going to have to...
100% buy.
I'm going to have to get. You hear all the people who go to conventions, they talk about it. Fantastic.
10 out of 10 would
So I bought it and play with it. It works extremely well for what it is effectively just the DK1, a very bare bones.
Yeah. But have you used it since the time you purchased it? Is it something that just sits in the bottom of your closet along with the bunch of hookers?
Currently, yes.
Yeah.
It is just an experience thing.
That's the lack of support.
It is for developers, so it's not necessarily there to play with, it's more there to develop for, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now that you've got the consumer product out,
it's
releasing,
out, yeah.
we should see more titles do it. There have been a lot of actual recent AAA titles that have started to having some kind of support. Dying Light being one of them.
I think PlayStation VR will play a large part in that becoming mainstream now because the PS4 has sold so many kits.
Yeah.
But I think that'll be interesting to see in the next year or so and how this goes. Now, Shoxy, how was your impression?
I really liked it. Not having really used any VR significantly before, I was surprised with how responsive it was. I was expecting it to be a little bit laggy, a little bit delayed in the reactions and everything, but you turn your head, it feels like you move your head properly. We had the headset on properly, so you had the surround sound properly and everything, and so your sound shifted with you really well. Obviously, we had a controller to move ourselves around because it's a headset, it's not a full motion kit or anything, but really good, really responsive. The screen door effects didn't really bother me too much. Just being able to move your head and getting the proper response was quite good.
Quite good. I had a great experience with it. I felt that it was definitely worthwhile, and obviously with refinements, I would definitely consider buying something like that. Tonight in particular, I got very motion sick. It does tend to happen, and has happened a lot in the past to different people as well. It's just a little thing, but you're very, very close to a small screen, so it's a little bit of a rough going. But generally quite good. I would absolutely consider buying something like this to play with it.
The motionness itself is really based around the latency of the model itself. Where the DK1 is only 30 to 50 ms, just microseconds of latency. So when you move your head, you got about 30 microseconds of
delay
before it happens. That really can help or hurt the inner ear.
Yeah, and I mean, our brain subconsciously sees that, and that's what gives us the motion sickness, because it's making it feel like it's lagging. We don't see it ourselves, like consciously we can't sit there and say it, because I couldn't see it myself, but there are a lot of people with that kind of stuff. That's where you get the motion sickness. So
frame rate, latency, those kind of things really play a big part in how these things run, which is why we're seeing those improvements in the later versions, which is great to see. And obviously it's turned into a very competitive market, which is even better. So to talk about one of the games in particular that we played tonight, being Dreadhalls, what were your impressions of that, Jimmy D?
Yeah,
You got some real good friends.
Yeah, fuck you guys. What was that? I'm not going there! That wasn't cool. There was like scratching and shit. Oh.
How's the heart going?
It's fucking horrible!
So to put it in a little bit of context, Dreadhall is basically a maze. You wear the VR headset and you walk around, but there's a few catches. It's a little bit of a haunted maze, and it's very, very dark with a lot of really scary sounds, and I didn't like it very much.
Especially when your friends jump out at you.
There's something there.
Payback!
And especially when locks pop up, because apparently doors scare the shit out of them. Good game though. Good game.
Oh yeah, very nice. Very nice.
Again, it's one of those things that would all depend on what kind of sound you have. Even nowadays, a lot of horror games suggest that you have a headset to make it more of an immersive environment.
Atmospheric.
Rather than surround sound, because you don't get as immersed in it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it's more immersive the more stuff that you have that'll bring you closer to the realistic environment that it's trying to bring out.
Yeah. And I mean, we all know, it sounds ridiculous to anyone who hasn't played with these things before. We all know it's a video game. But at the end of the day, when you've got something coming towards your face and you've got different sounds, moaning and groaning and ghost sounds and growls, it can be absolutely terrifying. No, noise. I'm done, that's ghost. I'm done. Can't do it. regular horror games are scary, but this takes it to a whole new level, and I can't wait to see something like a big horror release like Amnesia really get this kind of support, or Evil Within, something like that.
I could really see this working well with FPS shooters, and specifically horror games, horror survival, ones that you do not have the ability to attack anything, but
Something
you got
like-
the whole fight or flight.
I would imagine that they would work quite well with something like Resident Evil, where the targeting is pretty locked and whatnot.
Or even like an on-rail shooter, this would be really good for. It also opens up the whole fact that you could have a 360-degree on-rail shooter, in which case it would make them turn around more. This is where like light guns and stuff like that would really come into it. And like what I said before, the more stuff that you have to get you immersed in the game, the more that this particular item would appeal.
Once again, I hate to keep harkening on this fact, but I do want to talk about PlayStation VR again. They're very fortunate in the position they're in because they do have that motion control system already set up in their controllers. Now, as I understand it, Oculus, I believe it's Oculus, they've developed controllers now.
Both Oculus and HTC controllers.
Yeah, so they're obviously planning for these things to kind of interact with the world at large when you're playing. And then obviously we've seen Microsoft now come out with their HoloLens, which is an AR as opposed to VR, so augmented reality as opposed to virtual reality. It's going to be interesting to see how these things play out with video games.
Yeah.
Now, the other VR tool that we brought in tonight was Google Cardboard. Now, Google Cardboard, for anyone who doesn't know, the basic history was during the time that Oculus was flying off the handle, Google had a conference, and at the conference they handed everyone who walked through the door a little package with cardboard inside it. They opened it up, it had a few lenses, a few magnets, a few little things, you put it together, you fold it, and it becomes this little device where you slide your smartphone in, you switch NFC on, and you have the gyroscope switched on, and it works basically like an Oculus. And they said it was a statement saying that if you can spend all this money developing it, so can we, but it's going to cost you bugger all. So what were your impressions of that, Jimmy D?
Surprisingly enough, it worked.
It really did.
I really wasn't expecting it to be as good as it was, and compared to the Oculus, it had a much clearer screen, and that would come down to the smaller pixels
Yes.
on the phones,
Yep.
And the high resolution that they have. Whereas I dare say that, you know, DK2 and the consumer kit will have very close to what
Yep.
Google Cardboard did. For a piece of cardboard, a few lenses and a magnet, that was
The
pretty
fidelity was
amazing.
amazing. Oh, what about you, Frubix?
For what it was, simply being cardboard bit of lenses with your phone, it worked fantastically well.
Yeah, and we haven't even spoken about price yet. This is the big thing for me, okay? The Oculus costs approximately $500 for DK1.
The DK1 was $500.
Yep.
The DK2 is, I believe, $300, and the consumer version is, we're guessing, around another $300, or it'll end up being cheaper, $200, $150.
That'd be a fantastic bargain.
There is also the Samsung Gear. It only works with Samsung phones itself, but it is effectively a $99 Google Cardboard.
Yes, I've seen, yeah.
Yes.
There are obviously ones in between. There are really good ones. So those are the prices there. But let me break it to you, ladies and gentlemen. For a Google Cardboard, it's going to cost you about $3. Go online, any cheap website, search it up, VR, and it'll just pop up $3. You can buy heaps of them, watch heaps of instructions online, and I think the fidelity was definitely there. The support's probably not there, but the fidelity was totally worth it. If you want a cheap way to look into an Oculus and whether or not you're going to want to purchase it, go out and buy a cardboard first and have a play around. So Shoxy, what were your impressions of the cardboard?
I was really surprised. I wasn't expecting it to be all that great. It's, you know, a couple of bits of cardboard and some lenses. I get it, it's working with a, you know, several $100 phone and everything, but how the hell is it going to work with a bit of cardboard? And tried it on and everything, and holy crap, it works. You know, we were playing a space shooter game, and very basic and everything, but it worked. I was standing there and I was, you know, turning 360, looking up and down, getting a little bit dizzy because I'm just doing constant circles trying to find what I'm looking for, but really good, really fun.
Let me ask the important question then, because we are, at the core of it, a gaming channel. Would anyone here buy and use regularly an Oculus DK1, 2, V, virtual reality device of any kind for their gaming purposes?
Not for regular use, I wouldn't think.
I would. Depends on the game. A racing game, you're in the cockpit, you get really immersed through using a headset like an Oculus.
Yeah, I can get that,
Sensational
yeah.
analogy.
FPS or playing games, say like Elite Dangerous, you're in a spaceship.
I don't know how I'd feel about using it for an FPS, because you definitely have to then have the 360 scope of view, which involves you standing up, as far as I can tell.
Or in a swivel chair.
Or a
Yeah,
swivel
you
chair,
don't
absolutely.
always-
If you go on the net, you can actually see some people who have implemented the Oculus to a 3D
environment.
Basically, like it's a I can't
Little
remember what it's
treadmill,
called.
3D
Like it's
treadmill.
it's like a 3D treadmill. You can
the
run around in
octagonal,
360 direction. But that's what I'm saying. The more things that they come out that works with this kind of stuff,
The better.
the more support we're going to see for games like that. Like this would be great for just your car racing and maybe an on-rail shooter, maybe some horror games. You know, that's basically on rails.
Reactionary stuff.
Reactionary stuff. So,
Yeah.
like in a racing game, this would be fantastic because you could actually physically turn your head and look at the person next to you.
And you could have a steering wheel and
Steering wheel and pedals and all that stuff. There's already that support for that kind of like peripheral support for a racing game.
I think in a few years' time it will be definitely worth it, but currently
Currently, it's very much just a gimmick.
it is a gimmick, and we had a little bit, not a lot, a little bit of technical difficulty setting up tonight.
Press any key to acknowledge. I'm pressing any key to acknowledge. Hang on, I'm not.
I
touching
can't
anything.
control it with the head.
Okay.
Try the other one.
That's probably because it is DK1, it's a little bit outdated now, but we did have some technical difficulties, which makes it a little bit less accessible, really.
Essentially, what they want to strive towards, and I think that's what they've succeeded in doing with the new Oculus, is just a plug and play. Like your other stuff, it basically installs all your firmware and your software automatically, and then you just plug it in, and
Wireless headset style.
and yeah, basically, and you just set it so that it plays the Oculus. So in that sense, it also needs to have the games have that support. They have to have in their options menu Oculus support.
And whether or not
you know,
third-party
enable
developers
Oculus.
are going to want that, it's going to come at an extra cost again, and no doubt consumers will bear the brunt of that, which we see time and time again.
There are a few like big developers that are really interested in this kind of stuff. Valve being one of them, they're really into it, and they've got a lot of support for not only their older games but their newer ones that are coming out. Bethesda has a lot of support for their stuff. Doom 3 BFG Edition we weren't able to actually get working, but
It will work better with the later models than
yeah,
just the
so
DK1,
because this
so.
one, a lot of stuff nowadays is being developed for the DK2 model.
Of course.
Or the consumer model.
Which we're going to see.
A lot of the things for us were a lot harder to find with this dev kit model. I mean, everything that I searched up will say, hey, here's your DK2 software for it, and I was like, well, where's the DK1 software? It's because they've already updated it and outdated the old one. It's hard to find the older models, but it's like anything really. It's harder to find the older stuff than the newer stuff.
Final thoughts on VR. Now, I'm going to come out straight up and say, yeah, I love the Oculus. Yeah, I love PlayStation VR. I love the concept behind it. But when I can buy something for $3 that works and is fun and is going to be just as much as a gimmick, then I'll probably go for that option. I don't know how much I'm going to use this in my gaming. I don't know whether or not it's going to become relevant. And it was a great experience, a fun social experience. But I don't think at the core, VR is going to be anything more.
I reckon, to be honest, it'll be one of those things where a few years down the track, it'll be fantastic. It'll be one of those mainstream kind of things.
Or it'll have died off.
It's been around and circulating for the last couple of years. They've actually got conventions specifically for VR now. So it is taking off. It's taking its time, but it is taking off. And in a couple of years, we'll see more support, and that's when I'll be interested in buying it.
Provided it's got the support, if things are developed properly and they get the support and everything, I could see it being a valid thing in the future. It has to have the support for it.
Frubix, final thoughts on VR. Obviously, you were a big consumer to start off with. How are your thoughts now, a couple of years down the track?
A couple of years down the track, I think it'll do really well.
Yeah.
As it stands now, most people probably won't get into it. It'll be a bit too expensive for them. But for anybody who likes to play the games, you do already have support for some really, really big games that'll just work perfectly with it. Say Star Citizen, Elite Dangerous, Dirt Rally.
Is Space Sim doing
Yeah,
really
Space
well
Sim,
with this?
That'd be fantastic, yeah.
So yeah, if you're looking to play those games, it's definitely worth investing in an Oculus, along with a setup, say a steering wheel, joystick, something like that.
Yeah, it's a whole setup that you really need to invest in. And when you get there, it'll totally be worth it. Shogsy, final thoughts?
Be interesting to see how it goes. Looking forward to see where it goes. I'm not sure that I'd go out and buy the consumer Oculus or anything like that straight off the bat. Might get everyone else to see how it goes and whatnot. Yeah, if all things go well and good support and development for it, I may end up investing in it.
Alright, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us on our VR special at the tail end of 2015. Stay tuned for our final videos of Season 1. I've been your host, Double Tap.
Don't forget to like and subscribe and check out our other videos.
Thanks very much, guys. Catch you next time.